Welcome to the Ruden Report podcast. I'm Dave Ruden, and we're hitting the home stretch now of the FCIAC regular season. We have a few more games this week, and then the playoffs start. And as always, we have a logjam at the top of the standings. And for the second straight year, and this tends to happen quite often, one of those teams is a team that doesn't get a lot of hype in the preseason and always seems to be right in the thick of things come the end of the year, and that's the Danbury Hatters. Right now, Danbury is tied for first place and has control of its own destiny for the top seed. Last year, it was tied for the top record during the regular season and lost out on tiebreaker to the one seed. And joining me right now to talk about the Hatters this year and for the last 39 years is their esteemed coach, Shaun Ratchford. Shaun, thanks for taking the time out here with me tonight.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and thank you for all you do for the FCIAC and for sports in general, because guys like you are invaluable. We're very lucky to have you.
Well, thanks a lot, Shaun. That means a lot, especially coming from you. The Hatters, you didn't get a lot of hype last year, and you tied for the regular season record and had a good postseason run, good state tournament run, and you're right in the thick of things again this year. What is about the Hatters that we don't see in March that we end up seeing in May?
I would like to think that what happens is we try to ask the kids to continue to get better. Every game is like a test in school. They look at their score. We look at our score as far as teaching, and we try to continue to teach and get the team better. So if the kids are willing to listen and learn, there's a ton of experience between myself, John Wren, and the other assistant coaches that I have, and the kids that come back and give back to the program. That it's invaluable. So.
And we saw that yesterday up at your place. I was there for the West Hill game. You had a few of your former players there on a nice Saturday morning.
Yeah, it was awesome. Jackson Saccone came back from Hartford and talked to the kids about the difference between college as far as baseball and practices. I had Danny Morehouse came back and talked about college and academics, and then a blast from the past. Brent Jacobellis came back from the last team that we had that went to the Final Four. And he just talked about opportunities and how quickly it goes, and that he's been removed 6 years, and don't waste the opportunities. There's a lot of distractions now. You have senior proms, you have senior parties, you have all the things that can help a season that's been successful fall apart. So he encouraged them to stay focused, to get the opportunity, because you don't know when it's ever going to happen again.
That seems to be a common theme. I think about all the times I've interviewed you after games and getting better, whether it's getting better over the course of a game, a week, a season, a practice, probably as far as you look at it. Always getting better seems to be the common denominator for you and your teams.
Well, I think that I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher who coaches. When you're younger, you always think that you're going to be a coach. You're going to go on and coach college. You're going to do this. But you quickly realize my mother taught 50 years and reminded me every day, you are a teacher who coaches. So the field, the court, because I coached basketball at Westcon, the football field, I coached football at Danbury. They're extensions of what we do in a classroom. If you expect a kid to learn in your classroom, you better teach them. What the kids don't know is not their fault, it's your fault. So it's part of the reason I've continued for 39 years, is it exposes all my weaknesses as a teacher. So every year, I already started, I have my 24 list of things that I have to do better as a teacher to help the team be better.
I never knew you were a basketball coach at Westcon.
Yeah, my cousin Bobby Campbell was the head coach. I was one of the assistants for about 20 years. I ran study hall and also coached. Truth be told, I love basketball a little bit more than baseball, in that in basketball as a coach, I can have control. I can press. I can go man to man. I can slow the ball down. I can run. There's so many things I can do. As a baseball coach, your job is to prepare. But once the game starts, if you don't get runners on base, and we've been no hit twice this year, there's nothing you can do. You try to talk to the kids in the dugout to have a better approach, a different approach at the plate. But again, if you don't get on all the bunting that we do, all the base running we do, it doesn't mean anything. So, yeah.
You opened the season all non-league games 0-3, got a couple of wins and then another loss. So you're looking at 2-4, and you've only lost twice since then. First of all, what's the mood and what are you seeing with the team at 2-4?
At 2-4, it was a typical high school team, whether it be basketball, baseball, football, whatever it is that you coach. Um, Everybody was looking for a reason why. Everybody was looking to point the fingers, and that's the thing that we said. Look, it's a process. We have to find out about each other. We had one kid coming back who started last year. So we have to learn each other. I have to learn how to teach them. They have to learn how I coach. There's a lot of things that we have to do together. So you just hope, because again, in high school, you can go bad and the season can get away from you. We were talking about that tonight, John and I. You tend to win in high school and continue to win. You tend to lose and continue to lose if a season starts to fall apart.
Was there anything specific that turned it around, or was it just the guys getting experience and their talent eventually starting to show through?
Well, I think the biggest thing that we've been lucky enough is the pitching. So, when Jacob pitches, you almost always have a chance to win if you hit the ball. Charlie's come to a point, Charlie Salamini, that he also gives us a chance. That did not happen at the beginning of the season. He was trying to be too fine, so he would only be able to pitch 4.5 innings, 5 innings, because he'd get ahead of hitters, and then he wanted to paint a Picasso. So we said, look, you got it. And with these new pitch rules, you have to go after batters. You get a batter 0-2. We look at the stuff that the Rays do. I mean, we're going to take any information we can. The Rays, have a chart where a batter gets 3 pitches or less. The batting average is in the low 2s. If a batter gets 5 pitches or more, the batting average is mid 350. So you gotta amplify that in high school. And so we're like, go after hitters. Don't be afraid to throw strikes. Because I had a pitcher once that was eye-opening to me. He goes, Coach, I'm afraid to throw a strike. And so that's my job, to teach them that in baseball, the odds are in your favor. The odds are, if you throw a strike, you're going to get somebody out 7. Okay, in high school, 6 out of 10 times. Throw strikes, locate the ball. I'm a big believer in Greg Maddux. We try to throw to spots. Does that always happen? No. I don't call pitches on purpose because I want the kids to get ready for college. And sometimes that's part of the learning process. We throw pitches that are not good pitches in a certain count. And, we keep notes during the game. We have a game accountability chart that I have a player that didn't make the team that keeps. We chart ourselves and we chart the other team, so we know how many swings we took. We know how many swings they took. Did they swing at this? Did they swing at that? Did they swing early? Did they swing late? All that stuff is information that, if you want, can be used. And I'm not an analytics guy, but I think certain information is very, very helpful to players if they can take it and use it and incorporate it to help themselves be better at what they do.
That's kind of interesting that you don't call pitches, because you talked about why you like coaching basketball. Calling pitches would be one element where you could have a little bit more control if you wanted to. I mean, you can't control where the ball ends up going, but you could. It's interesting that you opt not to.
Well, Bobby Knight wrote a book that was a little play against the power of positive thinking. Bobby Knight wrote a book called The Power of Negative Thinking. And he talked about in the games why he was the coach that never called timeouts at the end. And, Rafferty would be yelling, "You got to call a T, Bobby." And he would never call a timeout, even when Smart hit that shot in the national championship game. And his reasoning was, if I did a good enough job of teaching the kids during the game, why would I want to stop and let the other team set up? So we challenge our pitchers to work quickly. Sometimes putting pitches in is a very slow process. So, and I want them to get ready for college. I know that a lot of colleges call pitches, but I want them to think. That's the biggest thing we challenge our kids is think the game. I told them I want to come to a game. I want to fall asleep. I want someone to wake me up after 7 a.m. and say, Coach, team did a great job. They played well. They bunted when they needed to bunt. They stole when they needed to stole. They hit the ball where they needed to hit it. I've done my job. That's the job. The game is theirs. Practice is mine, and my job is to give them as much information as possible. So I debate with that, but right now I'm in a mode where for the last probably 7 or 8 years we let the kids call. If the catcher needs a suggestion from us, we have a sign that we use so he can get a suggestion. But otherwise, no, we let the kids call their pitches.
You look at what the team's done. You've 6 of your last 9 games allowed 3 or fewer runs. So since the Staples game, unbeaten other than you got no hit in that one nothing game with 1 hit in the entire game against Wilton.
Yeah, no, I would call it a no hitter. The kid just missed first base when he went over on a get
I know.
over.
I mean, Wilton only had a hit in that game, so there's only 1
Oh,
hit for
right.
both teams in
Oh,
the entire
absolutely.
game.
Absolutely. And I don't know if that's a function of launch angle. I don't know what that's a function of, but it seems like the hitting, we're all looking for the all or nothing, and I'm not a big let's put the ball in play. If you look at Major League Baseball, one of the things that they talk about, the teams that win championships, A, they put the ball in play. B, they adjust to whether it be a strike zone, to a field, to a condition. They adjust to something that's out there. C, the pitchers go deep into the game. We gave the kids 5 things, all 5 things that we can do. So at the beginning of the year, I mean, we struck out 8 of the first 9 guys in the first game. We took 3 swings through the order, 3 through 9 players batting. And that's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. If Dave Ruden's not throwing strikes, okay, maybe. But if Dave Ruden's laying strike 1 right in there and going after you on strike 2 and the bat stays on our shoulder, that's just me not being a good enough teacher to get them to understand. Swing the bat.
Is it a reflection on you? I can't think of too many other coaches whose teams never underachieve. I can't think of a time where Danbury's loaded. Why did they go 8-12? It's usually the opposite with you. Your teams either play to what the talent level is and oftentimes exceed that. Is that just them having a really good teacher?
Oh, thank you for that. I think that I'm lucky, like I said, that I have excellent assistant coaches. We put out a report after every game. We review the report. We talk about what we did well. We talked about what we did 50-50, so there was some good and bad. And then we talk about the things that are our warts. And, are we willing to address that? And so the kids, because we do that, we're the other weird thing is that we practice JV and varsity together. Sometimes we practice with the freshmen. I want them to see what they do. We had the seniors this year adopt a freshman to make sure they're comfortable, to make sure they understand what we do. How do you bunt? How do we do the signs? How do we do this? So that they have someone they can call other than going to mom or dad, and mom or dad not understanding. So maybe taking them for lessons, maybe doing something. You have a senior, you have everybody adopted. Next year, the seniors and the juniors are going to adopt a sophomore and a freshman, from day one, so that they're A, comfortable in school, and B, comfortable in baseball. And that's been a cool thing to see them grow and see them be teachers. And I think that also helps us with them as far as the learning process.
What would winning the regular season title mean? Does it mean something? To me, number one, that's harder than winning an FCIAC or a state championship in baseball, in particular. The way because baseball's not a one and done sport, but obviously, it gets you a home game, which probably is the most important thing. Does it have any significance other than that to you?
To me, I'm the weirdo, Dave. I don't even know where we stand in the league. When I had Kenny Reed knew,
Kenny Reed was the
the,
best.
the machinations out for, and he still sends, K-Rock and I are still friendly. He still sends me stuff. He's coaching basketball at Westcott now. He's an assistant coach.
Is he really?
Oh,
Wow.
yeah. And he's a great assistant. And John is a little the same way. The younger coaches know. I only care about how we're playing and are we willing to get better. I just, I put a thing out about that on Sports U. I don't care who we play. I only care how we play. And it's not just the physical part, it's the attitude. How do we treat each other? Do we come ready to practice? Do we come ready to play? How's our energy? Are we okay if we get behind? Are we okay if we're ahead? Because we were at the beginning, we were good against teams where we were the hunters, where they were the big beast and we had to hunt them down. Then we became the hunted because we started to win, and then we did not play as well. So that also caused us to say, hey guys, you have to be able to accept whatever it is. You're ahead, you're behind. 21 outs is hard. I learned a drill from San Diego State when Tony Gwynn was coaching there, and it's called speedball, and it's trying to get 21 outs in a row in a certain amount of time, and that's a great drill that we use. And it was cool for us because Jackson came home from Hartford, and he goes, Coach, we play 27 outs. He says, so the 21 outs, I was used to it. The kids weren't ready for it. And that was cool. That means it forces you to think, because as soon as Dave catches the ball, I have a second baller, my assistant, and they throw it. So you're going to catch a ball. You might be in the right field line. And now a new ball is coming in play, and you're out of position. Oh my God, is there a guy at second? Oh my God, is there a guy here? So you're forced to think on your feet. And that really has helped us, that drill.
I'll give you a hint. If you decide to look at the standings in the next day or two, look up, not down, if you want to find yourself.
Thank you. Again, to me, it's about, I told you when we played Staples, we were looking for another pitcher. And Nick has done a decent job. So, I have three guys that I trust to start. And we have our middle guy, and we have two guys that can come in and throw strikes at the end. Because I want someone that doesn't emotionally get caught up and I got to throw harder. I got to get this guy out. I got to do this. No, just come in and throw strikes. Let your team make plays, and you got a chance to win. Does it sometimes bite in the fanny? Yeah. Last year against Ward, we brought a kid in. He pumped in strikes. He got a ball a little up. Their nice catcher hit it into their into their school, and the game was over. But that's how I want it to be played. That doesn't mean I'm right. It's just how we want it to be played.
With the playoffs starting on Friday, do you coach any differently in the postseason, given what's at stake and the one and done dynamic of it, than you do during the regular season?
Yeah, I think you have to be honest. You can't stay in the game and stay with somebody that may have had success. So I just think that your decision of when to get a pitcher out happens a little bit sooner. Other stuff, I'm not going to change when I run, who I run for. I'm not going to put somebody up early because of the situation. I'm going to trust the kids that have got us there that way. But pitching wise, I think you have to know your kid, and you talk to them. Hey, how do you feel today? What do you have? Our bullpenning is very important. The kids will come in, the catchers, and tell me. I always tell them, tell Dave Ruden, he's got great stuff today. Dave, wow, my God. And then they come in and say, Coach, Dave doesn't have his curve. Dave doesn't have his changeup. Dave can't locate his fastball. But I don't want you thinking that when you come in, so that I know that before the game and I can deal with it. So, no, it's just the pitching.
What about just in terms of your players' psyches and from the mental part of the game? Do you handle them any differently, again, because now you're in a one and done situation?
Well, Dave, we tell them that every game is a state tournament. And we tell them that you either got to practice like you play or you got to play like you practice. It says you got to be competitive. If you compete like crazy in the game, you got to compete in practice. If you're relaxed in practice, you got to be relaxed in the game. And the thing that we do the most is we want them to embrace facing Kip. We want them to embrace facing Hero because you get in a tournament game, that's who you're going to beat. You have to beat those guys. So that's why there's times that we won games and I was a pain in the neck. I'm like, guys, we have to be able to get better because we have to beat them. And that's what 30 years or more will do for you. It'll give you the perspective that, oh my God, hey, we're number one. Wow, ooh, cool. But you get in that tournament and a team only won 8 games. And you look and you realize, oh my God, that pitcher that's going to face you today is a guy that won all 8 games. So you have to be able to win a 1-run game. You have to be able to do whatever it takes to get a run to beat a really good pitcher. So that's what we were playing. We were hoping Saturday that Kip pitched. And I always tell them, we want to go against the best because that's what a state tournament does. That's what an FCX final four, final whatever is going to do. You're not going to face pitchers that are okay. You're going to face really good pitchers. So
I know 1 or 2 coaches that purposely, if they can, will try to avoid showing their best pitchers to teams they know they could likely see in the postseason, just for the other end of what you're saying. Just
yeah, no, I understand that, and I get it. And we thought about that with West Hill because we could play West Hill, and they get to see Jacob, but I'm not going to change my pitching order. I'm not going to do all that. We made one adjustment to the order because of the Saturday game. If that was Friday, he probably doesn't pitch. He's going to be angry at me because he wants to pitch all the time. Maybe he pitches an inning or 2 in relief. But it did set us up for this week. If we're lucky enough to win the games, again, it's are we playing well? Are we focused on baseball? Or are we thinking about I want to graduate, I want to move on to the next thing in my life? Because we have a ton of seniors. We have a lot of seniors.
I thought actually the Saturday game works out well for you in terms of getting your pitching set up for the playoffs because you could throw Jacob yesterday, and now he gets another day or 2 of rest before your first playoff game.
Yeah, that actually was perfect, and you are absolutely right. It was perfect. He's a weird kid, like I said, only in that if there wasn't pitching rules, he'd come to me every day. He'd text me and tell me, Coach, I'm good. Coach, I got an inning. Coach, I'm ready to pitch. I'm like, Jacob, you got to take some time off. You just can't throw. So
speaking of Jacob, I've got a couple of Danbury stories that'll be coming the next 2 days. One on Jacob, but something that I really hadn't noticed about you, or I noticed it, but it wasn't right in front of me. And I asked Jacob about this, but the FCX right now has got a lot of young coaches, a lot of coaches that played in the league. There are a lot of former FCX players in there. You included, right? You played at Danbury.
I did back before they had metal bats. No, I actually played with wooden bats at Danbury High School,
but despite that you have a greater age difference with your players than all the other coaches do, you really relate to your players just the same. And I was doing a lot of observing different things yesterday, outside of the game, just watching interactions, and that's always been there. I never observed it till yesterday.
Well, thank you on that. Again, it comes down to I'm a teacher who coaches. It would be the first thing that my mother, who was, coached tennis at Danbury High School, actually dove and played women's basketball at UConn when you had 2 dribbles. It's the first thing she would come and yell at me. She didn't care if we won or lost. Hey, how did you treat this kid? How did you do? Did you teach? What did you do when he got, when he made a mistake? So that's important to me. I was lucky enough because of my father's job to go up UConn games and actually talk to D Rowe after basketball games, talk to Don Perno, go see Yankee conference games and see Penders. Oh my God, Andy Blaylock coach and see Harvey play, not the Dark Knight, his father play, run into the wall at center field, get all bloodied up, throw the ball in, and UConn beat UMass to go on to play Jim Rice and Freddie Lynn when they played USC, where I thought UConn won because you had to listen on the radio. So all those things taught me how important it is to have a relationship with the kids. It's harder as you get older because they look at you more like they're your grandfather than they're someone that they can relate to. But John is a big help with that, John Wren, because I love being an assistant. People ask me why I'm an assistant in the summer, because you get to teach more and have a different experience with the kid. I don't have to worry that Dave's mad at me because I didn't write him in a number 3 or 4 spot, that he's not playing shortstop. I get to talk to you, help you deal with the frustrations, because baseball is a frustrating game. Oh, frustrating game.
I think I would describe you, am I accurate or not? You're sort of old school philosophically with a contemporary style.
Yeah, I would say that's
exactly
what we want. I want me to be the guy that shows all our warts, my assistants to be the guys that are to pick me up. Hey, we got this, we can do this. And I would say that's an apt description. Yes.
But you relate to the kids. Do you feel you relate to kids as well now as you did when you were younger and starting out?
Probably better, because I have much more perspective. When you're younger, you win, ergo, oh, you're a great coach. No, that has nothing to do with it. You lose, ergo, you're a bum. And you start to, when we won our state championship, you think of the kids that didn't do well. A lot of those kids went on and had very successful careers. They're doing very well as adults, but there's a young man on a team that's not doing well. And that's the one you think about. Hey, what could I have done better to help him so that life hasn't been so tough on him, so that he wants to come back, so that he wants to see his teammates and be part of the stuff that they do. It was really cool the other night to go and see Tooch get inducted into the Coaches Hall of Fame, because he had 25, 30 players. It was so neat. I saw Katsy. I saw his son. I saw kids that I hadn't seen. I mean, I saw Angelo Bruno. It was
wow.
To me, that tells you everything. It tells you everything. They probably couldn't tell you they couldn't tell you the score against Danbury. Oh, we won, oh, we lost. They might be able to tell you won or lost, but they can tell you about the person that Tucci made them, about how he helped them become who they were. That's what I hope. I mean, my 2 assistants, I drove them crazy. They tell the kids, oh, when Ratch was my coach, he drove me crazy. He says, but now we understand. So it's cool. I got kids coming tomorrow to talk, and the kids are going to be blown away when they see the kid that comes tomorrow. So
okay, you can tell when we sign off, you can tell me who that is. I can't make it up to Danbury again tomorrow as much as I'd like to.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
Do you agree right now that this is like a golden era for FCIAC baseball? Was it ever better at any time in your career than it is right now? You look at, and I hate to just say all the kids that are going to D1 programs, it's all the kids who are going to college to play, because if you're going D2, D3, you're a really good athlete and a really good baseball player. Is this the best it's been?
Yeah, I would say that it had been cyclical, and there were a year or 2 where it was great, but we've gone through, as you said, a golden age where there are a lot of really, really good players. And that's one of the things we challenge our kids, because I told our kids in the past, just because we're good in the FSAC doesn't mean we're one of the best teams in the state. I said, you have to know, there was years where the CCC was the best, when Amity was knocking the socks off everybody. There was years when the SWC, when Pomperog was, in their heyday. And then there's all the teams down on the shore, where my son coaches at Avery Point. That's where a lot of great players have come from. But I think the FSAC this the last 4 or 5 years has been very, very good.
Anything you can attribute that to in an era where lacrosse is kind of taken over in Fairfield County, and you got a lot of kids that are playing youth lacrosse instead of Little League?
It is a problem, I think, in our city schools. We have less and less of a pool to draw from. You asked earlier about how things have changed. What I think has changed the most is the opportunities out of the high school season. When I played, you had 6, 7, 8 summer games. There was no AAU. There was no DBATs. There was no All-Star. There was no Coastal, where you could go and work all winter to get better. So I think the AAU has helped kids get on the map. And then I really think that players like Kerrigan, players, like the Dark Knight that went on to play very well at Carolina and schools like that helped us, because people are saying, all right, in Connecticut, you only play 20 games, but boy, he's almost as good as a kid down south who's played 60 games. So maybe we ought to look at the kid from the north, because his body doesn't have all that wear and tear. We coach him up a little bit. Woo, the potential is there. We know what this kid from the south or from the west is.
Is it fun for you to see all these great young coaches that are coming into the league and continuing to do what you did and what you started and what you're still doing? And is it fun, strategizing against them and playing chess against them from different dugouts?
Oh, it's again, as soon as you step on a third base box, I want to beat whoever the heck I'm playing. But what I do love is there's the camaraderie between the coaches, and they want to get it right. They want to get, if Dave Ruden is, an all FCIAC player, we're going to make sure he's on that team. We're not going to vote. I'm not going to vote against Dave, because then my guy will get a vote and he'll lose a vote. So in the past, it was a little more cutthroat. It wasn't as flexible. Now we make sure, hey, this team is going to be the best. Again, in the past, it was a 1 third baseman, 1 shortstop, 1 second baseman, 1 first baseman. And most times, the best player is somebody's shortstop, somebody's center fielder, somebody's catcher. And so you're a kid doesn't make all FCIAC or second team all FCIAC, and he's a second or third best player in the league. So I think it's really cool. I think it's evolved as far as that is. And people like you have helped, because there's exposure. Back in the day, Danbury was covered by the Danbury News Times, Norwalk Hour covered the Norwalk, Stanford Advocate covered Stanford. So each area had its own flavor, but there wasn't a Dave Ruden to showcase kids from everywhere, not just the FCIAC, from everything that you cover. So I think you've helped changed everybody's outlook. And now people, we got to vote for this guy. Oh, did you see who Dave nominated? Oh my God. I think that's really, really good for the coaches. I think it's really, really good for the league. I think it's really good for the players. I hope it's good for you. I just, it's a labor of love.
It is. I've been doing it for as long as you have. So,
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, FCIAC baseball coaches, in terms of interaction with the media, they get it more than any coaches in any other sport. There are some sports that are as close, but you guys, in terms of cooperating with us, and I know because I've talked to the Game Time guys, you guys are just great in terms of promoting your teams, promoting your kids.
What's Game Time? No, I'm only kidding.
We like Game Time. We get along great with Game Time.
I'm kidding. I think the game itself does that to a person that coaches baseball. Because as I told you, look how many pro games they play. The best team this year is going to lose 50, 60 games. The team can lose 70 games and still win a World Series with the format. So as a coach, you get used to dealing with frustration and all that, and you still got to talk to your team. You can't go out and blast them after a loss. So I think that also helps all of us dealing with other people. Whereas football is an event, you have a whole week to build up for it, and all of a sudden you go out and lay an egg, and your season might be over. Although now with the expanded playoffs, it's not necessarily the way it was. And basketball, you got the best athletes. You're going to win probably 70% of your games, and then you're going to have those 50-50 games. You can win those. So baseball is unique. You put the one guy out there that throws by everybody. I have 8 great players. You have 1. You win. No other sports like that. And as I told you, I mean, look at there's 10 World Series MVPs that people don't even have any idea. Pat Borders, Rick Dempsey, a lifetime 223 hitter, 23 years, was a World Series MVP. Bucky Dent, Ray Knight. It just doesn't happen. Edgar Renteria. It doesn't happen in other sports, or it rarely happens in other sports. So.
Well, 39 years, 40 next year. I hope we're going to have you around for a long time because you make it a lot of fun. I tell you this, I'll end, and I tell you this all the time, that Tracy Nichols always told me you're the best baseball coach in the FCAC, and I am not making this up, but a current coach as well, who I was speaking to last week about a story unsolicited, talked about, playing you, and he said, I had to go up against the best coach in the FCAC. So, maybe there are some coaches as good. I don't know, but there's certainly nobody better. And I'm glad you were able to take this time, so everybody else out there who hasn't had a chance to hear you talk can get the benefits that we're able to get every spring. So Shaun, I could do this for another half hour, but you've got senior night tomorrow, so I'm going to let you go. But thanks so much for taking the time, and I wish you and the Hatters the best of luck the rest of the way.
And thank you very much, and thank you for the compliments. It goes out to the program and to the kids and to the parents and everybody. So thank you, Dave.
And that's this week's episode of the Ruden Report podcast. I want to again thank Danbury coach Shaun Ratchford for taking the time here. And I again want to thank Cooper Boardman for the sound editing. We'll be back with another episode next week.